Welcome, YouTubers. In today's video, I'm going to discuss all the conversions you have to know in order to pass both the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, that is the ASVAB, as well as the Pre-Screening Internet Delivered Computer Adaptive Test, that is the PiCAT. More specifically, I'm going to break this video down into 3 parts. In the first part of this video, I'm going to discuss all those conversions that you have to know and memorize. After that, we're going to work out some very simple practice problems involving some conversions. And then finally, we're going to work out 10 practice test questions that should closely mirror what you should expect to see on the actual ASVAB and PiCAT. Of course, in order to get the most from this video, you'll want to pause the video after I read each practice test question, attempt to work that practice test question out on your own, and then resume playing the video to check your solution. As a quick reminder, you're not permitted to use a reference sheet or a calculator on the actual ASVAB and PiCAT, so for that reason, you do have to commit all this information to memory. And with all that finally being said, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. In light of the fact that you're not permitted to use a reference sheet on the actual ASVAB and PiCAT, I want to start today's video by showing you how I memorize all these conversions. And if you look to the left here, you can see that I have a list of all the conversions you need to know for the ASVAB and PiCAT. I have conversions involving weight and mass, time, capacity, and linear units of measurement. So the first thing I want to point out is this. Whenever you're converting from a larger unit to a smaller unit, that's going to prompt you to multiply. Likewise, when you convert from a smaller unit to a larger unit, that's going to prompt you to divide. So let's get started by taking a look at what you need to know about weight and mass conversions. The first thing I want to say is this. The best thing you can do is arrange your units from least to greatest. So for weight and mass, we have tons, pounds, and ounces. Of course, ounces are the smallest of those units. After that, we have pounds. And after that, we have tons. So in other words, to convert from ounces to pounds, again, we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, we would divide. To go from pounds to tons, again, we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, we would divide. To go from tons to pounds, we're going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, we would multiply. And to go from pounds to ounces, again, we're going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, we would again multiply. The question is this, to make these conversions, what do you multiply and divide by? Well, for this, you have to know that there are 16 ounces in a pound. So to convert ounces to pounds, you would divide by 16. To go from pounds to ounces, you would multiply by 16. All right? How about converting pounds and tons and tons and pounds? Well, you have to know that there are 2,000 pounds in every ton. So to go from pounds to tons, you would divide by 2,000. Similarly, to go from tons to pounds, you would multiply by 2,000. So again, if you know that there are 16 ounces in every pound and 2,000 pounds in every ton, and to go from small to big, you divide, and big to small, you multiply, you should be able to quickly and easily make all these conversions involving weight and mass. All right, so let's do the same thing with time. As you can see, there's a lot of units for time conversions. That said, I want to stick to the most common ones, notably seconds, minutes, hours, and days. So let's start by arranging those units from least to greatest. Of course, the smallest unit involving time is seconds. After that, we have minutes. Next, we have hours. Then we have days. All right, so again, to go from small to big, you would divide. So to go from seconds to minutes, you would divide. To convert from minutes to hours, you would divide. And to convert from hours to days, you would divide. Now let's go from big to small. To go from days to hours, you would multiply. To go from hours to minutes, again, we're going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, you would multiply. And to go from minutes to seconds, you would multiply. The question is this: to make these conversions between seconds and minutes, what would we either multiply or divide by? Well, you have to know that there are 60 seconds in every minute. So to convert seconds to minutes, you would divide by 60. To convert minutes to seconds, you would multiply by 60. Let's talk about this pair now. How are we going to convert minutes to hours and hours to minutes? Well, for that, you have to know that there are 60 minutes in every hour. So to convert minutes to hours, you would divide by 60. To convert hours to minutes, you would multiply by 60. And finally, you have to know this one. You have to know that there are 24 hours in a day. So to convert hours to days, you would divide by 24. And to convert days to hours, you would multiply by 24. All right, so that's how you remember those time conversions there. Let's talk about capacity now. As you can see, we have ounces, cups, pints, quarts, and gallons. And for these, you have to remember all of them. Of course, the smallest unit there is ounces. After that, we have cups. Then we have pints. Then we have quarts. Then we have gallons. All right, so as I just mentioned, to convert from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, you would divide. So to go from ounces to cups, you would divide. To go from cups to pints, you would divide. To go from pints to quarts, you would divide. And to go from quarts to gallons, you would divide. Again, to go from big units to small units, you multiply. So to go from gallons to quarts, you would multiply. To go from quarts to pints, you would multiply. Pints to cups, multiply. Cups to ounces, multiply. Now the question is this: what are you going to be multiplying and dividing by? Well, let's talk about ounces and cups. You have to know that there are 8 fluid ounces in every cup. So to convert ounces to cups, you would divide by 8. To convert cups to ounces, you would multiply by 8. Let's talk about this pair now, cups and pints. For this one, you have to know that there are 2 cups in every pint. So to convert cups to pints, you would divide by 2. To convert pints to cups, you would multiply by 2. Let's talk about pints and quarts now. For pints and quarts, you have to know that there are 2 pints in every quart. So to convert pints to quarts, you're going to divide by 2. To go from quarts to pints, you're going to multiply by 2. And then finally, let's talk about quarts and gallons. You have to know that there are 4 quarts in every gallon. So to go from quarts to gallons, you're going to divide by 4. To go from gallons to quarts, you're going to multiply by 4. And that's all there is to it. All right, so finally, let's talk about measurements of linear units. As you can see, we have inches, feet, yards, and miles. For the purposes of this video, we're going to stick to the most common units. That is to say, we're going to talk about inches, feet, and miles. As we did for the previous examples, we're going to start by arranging our units from least to greatest. So we have inches as our smallest unit, feet as our next smallest unit, and then miles as our largest unit. As I've mentioned in this video several times already, to convert from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, such as inches to feet, you would divide. Likewise, to convert from feet to miles, you would divide. Again, when you convert big units to small units, you multiply. So to convert miles to feet, you would multiply. To convert feet to inches, you would multiply. The question is this: what are you going to be dividing and multiplying by? Well, you should know that there are 12 inches in every foot. So to convert inches to feet, you would divide by 12. To convert feet to inches, you would multiply by 12. All right, let's talk about feet and miles now. For this, you have to know that there are 5,280 feet in every mile. So to convert feet to miles, you're going to be dividing by 5,280. To convert Miles to feet, you're going to be multiplying by 5,280. All right, so that is all the conversions I would recommend that you learn for the ASVAB and PiCAT. As you saw, you have to know a few principles to remember these conversions. Specifically, you have to know that when you go from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, you divide. And when you go from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, you multiply. And what's more, you have to know what you're going to be dividing and multiplying by. All right, so before I move on to some very simple practice questions, I want to point this out. So, what is the benefit of showing you these conversions like this? Well, here's the biggest benefit of showing it to you like this. Let's say you had to convert from inches to miles. Well, if you write this out, this tells you all the steps to follow to make that conversion. The first thing you're going to do is divide by 12 to convert inches to feet. And once you convert from feet, you're going to divide by 5,280 to convert feet to miles. In other words, as long as you follow these steps, you can make any conversion fairly easily and quickly. So, for instance, let's say I asked you to convert from gallons to ounces. How would you go about doing that? Well, if you didn't have this written out, it would be very hard to think about. That said, using this little chart that we made, we can say, well, we're going to convert from gallons to quarts, quarts to pints, pints to cups, and then cups to ounces. Specifically, we would take our gallons, multiply it by 4 to convert to quarts, multiply our quarts by 2 to go to pints, multiply our pints by 2 to go to cups, and then multiply our cups by 8 to go to ounces. And that's how you would convert from gallons to ounces. So now that we know why I showed you how to make conversions using these charts, let's go ahead and get some practice solving some very simple practice questions. Of course, at this point in the video, you'll want to pause the video, attempt to work out the question on your own, and then resume playing the video to check your solution. Let me just be very clear. These are not the practice test questions that should closely mirror what you should see on the ASVAB and PiCAT. We're going to get to those after this part of the video. Instead, these are the practice questions that ensure you know how to make those conversions. So that said, let's get started. So let's make some conversions involving weight and mass. The first question says this: how many tons are in 8,000 pounds? So remember, as far as weight and mass is concerned, we have ounces, pounds, and tons. And to convert from pounds to tons, we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit. We're going to be dividing. And of course, you have to know that there are 2,000 pounds in every ton. So to make this conversion of 8,000 pounds to tons, we're simply going to take 8,000 and we're going to divide it by 2,000. And thankfully enough, this is very easy to do. We can cross out these corresponding zeros. 8 divided by 2 is 4. In other words, 8,000 pounds is 4 tons. All right, so this next one says this: how many pounds is 32 ounces? So for this one, we're going to be converting ounces to pounds. Again, we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, so we're going to be dividing. How many ounces are in every pound? There are 16 ounces in every pound. So to convert ounces to pounds, we're going to be dividing by 16. So let's do 32 divided by 16. 32 divided by 16 is 2. So how many pounds is 32 ounces? It is 2 pounds. All right, so this third one says, how many ounces are in 5 tons? So for this one, we're going from tons to ounces. That said, we're going to need all 3 of our units for weight and mass to make this conversion. Can we have ounces, pounds, and then tons? And if you recall, when we go from a big unit to a small unit, we multiply. So the first thing we're going to do is go from tons to pounds, and we're going to be multiplying. Then once we convert tons to pounds, we're going to go from pounds to ounces. which means we're going to multiply again. Well, what are we going to be multiplying by? Well, you have to know that there are 2,000 pounds in every ton. So here we're going to multiply by 2,000. And likewise, you have to know that there are 16 ounces in every pound. So to make this conversion of pounds to ounces, we're going to multiply by 16. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, we're converting tons all the way into ounces. So let's start by doing 2,000 times 5. 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 5 is 0, 5 times 2 is 10. So 5 tons is the same thing as 10,000 pounds. Of course, we want to convert tons to ounces, not pounds. So we're going to take our 10,000 pounds and multiply that by 16 to get ounces. So let's multiply this by 16. 0 times 6 is 0, 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 6 times 1 is 6. Before we start multiplication with that 1, bring in a 0 placeholder. 1 times 0, 0, 1 times 0, 0, 1 times 0, 0, 1 times 0, 0, 1 times 1 is 1. Let's add these together. 0 plus 0 is 0, 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 6 plus 0 is 6, 1 plus nothing is 1. All right, so this is 160,000 ounces. So 5 tons is the same thing as 160,000 ounces. And as you just saw, we converted tons to pounds by multiplying by 2,000. Then to convert pounds to ounces, we multiplied by 16. If you know these conversion charts, these problems are very easy. All right, so now we're going to be working with linear unit conversions. And this first question says this: how many inches are in 13 feet? All right, so remember, linear units had the following units: inches, feet, and miles. In this case, we're being asked to convert feet to inches. So we're going from feet to inches. That is to say, we're going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit. So you know you're going to be multiplying. And what are we going to be multiplying by? Well, you should know that there are 12 inches in every foot. So we're going to be multiplying by 12. This simply becomes 13 times 12. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. Before we start multiplication with that 1, we're going to bring in a 0 placeholder. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. Add these together. 6 plus 0 is 6. 2 plus 3 is 5. 1 plus nothing is 1. So 13 feet is 156 inches. All right, so that is that one. All right, so the second question says this: how many miles are in 31,680 feet? Again, we're talking about linear units, and as far as that goes, we know we have inches, feet, and then miles. In this case, we're being asked to convert 31,680 feet to be miles. That is to say, we're going from a small unit to a bigger unit. So we're going to be dividing. What are we going to be dividing by? Well, you have to know that there are 5,280 feet in every mile. So to convert 31,680 feet to be in terms of miles, we're going to take 31,680 and we're going to divide it by 5,280. All right, so we can read this as a long division like this: 31,680 divided by 5,280. And now we have to do this long division, of course. Believe it or not, this is actually much easier than it appears at first glance. Let's round this down to 5,000 and this to 30,000. 5,000 times 6 would be exactly 30,000. So I'm going to say 5,280 goes into 31,680 about 6 times. And to confirm that, I'm going to multiply this off to the side. 0 times 6, of course, is 0. 6 times 8 is going to be 48, so drop down an 8, carry a 4. 6 times 2 is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, carry a 1. 5 times 6 is 30 plus 1 is 31. So as we can see, 5,280 times 6 is exactly 31,680. In other words, 31,680 feet is exactly 6 miles. All right, so that is that one. Let's talk about making some time conversions now. This first one, of course, says this: how many seconds are in 4 minutes? Again, as far as time goes, we have these units: seconds, minutes, hours, and days. In this case, we're being asked to convert minutes, 4 minutes, to be in terms of seconds. So we're going from minutes to seconds. In other words, we're going from a big unit to a small unit, which means we're going to multiply. What are we going to multiply by? Well, you have to know that there are 60 seconds in every minute. So we're going to be multiplying by 60. So this is 60 times 4. 0 times 4 is 0. 6 times 4 is 24. So in other words, there are 240 seconds in 4 minutes. It's that easy. All right, so number 2 says how many days are in 840 hours. So remember, as far as time is concerned, we have seconds, minutes, hours, and days. In this case, we're being asked to convert 840 hours to days. That is to say, we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, so we're going to be dividing. What are we going to be dividing by? Well, you have to know that there are 24 hours in every day. So to make this conversion, we're going to do 840 divided by 24. All right, so this long division can get a little tedious. Let's start by asking ourselves this. How many times does 24 go into 84 without going over? You should know that 24 is going to go into 84 a maximum of 3 times. 24 times 3, of course, is 4 times 3 is 12. Carry a 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So that's 72. 84 minus 72 is 4 minus 2 is 2. 8 minus 7 is 1, and we drop down our 0. Question is this: how many times does 24 go into 120 without going over? Again, let's try to estimate this. 24 times 6 would be, or 20 times 6 would be exactly 120. So I'm going to say this is going to have to be 5 times. Let's work that off to the side. 24 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20. Bring down a 0, carry a 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. So 24 times 5 is exactly 120. 120 minus 120 is 0. Since we hit a remainder of 0, we know we're done. So 840 hours, as you can see, is 35 days. Let's go ahead and make some conversions involving capacity now. To start, we have this question: how many quarts are in 5 gallons? Now, if it's helpful, you can write out all of the units you know for capacity. You have ounces, cups, pints, quarts, and then finally gallons. In this case, we're being asked to convert 5 gallons to quarts. So we're going from this big unit of gallons to a smaller unit of quarts, which means we're going to multiply. And what are we going to multiply by? Well, you have to know that there are 4 quarts in every gallon. So we're going to be multiplying by 4 to make this conversion. This is simply 5 times 4. 5 times 4, of course, is 20. In other words, there are 20 quarts in 5 gallons. All right, and it's that easy. As soon as you learn this conversion chart, making these conversions is almost way too easy. This next one says this: how many cups are in 144 ounces? Okay, so let's write out our units from least to greatest. We have ounces, cups, and pints. Of course, that's all we need because in this case, we're being asked to convert ounces to cups. So we're going from ounces to cups. That is to say, we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit. So we're going to be dividing. And for this one, you have to know that there are 8 fluid ounces in every cup. So we're going to be dividing by 8. So this becomes 144 divided by 8. Uh, 8 does not go into 1, so we're going to do this long division by asking this. How many times does 8 go into 14 without going over? Of course, that's 1 time. 8 times 1 is 8. 14 minus 8 is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's 6. Drop down this 4. 8 times 8 is exactly 64. 64 minus 64 is 0. So to answer this question, how many cups are in 144 ounces? That would be 18 cups. All right, so now that we know how to make some simple conversions, let's take this one step further and let's work on the practice test questions that should closely mirror what you should expect to see on the actual ASVAB and PiCAT. For that reason, I encourage you to pause the video after I read a practice test question, attempt to work out the practice test question on your own, and then resume playing the video to check your solution. All right, this first question says this. Jimmy is painting his son's bedroom for his birthday. He wants to paint stripes across one of the walls of the bedroom. If he paints stripes that are 20 inches wide and the wall he is painting is 15 feet long, then how many stripes will he be able to paint on the wall? All right, so for a problem like this, it might be helpful to visualize what's going on by making a quick sketch. So we know Jimmy is painting one wall of his son's bedroom for his birthday. And according to the problem, that wall is 15 feet long. In addition, we're also told that Jimmy is painting stripes on the wall, and each of those stripes is going to be 20 inches wide. The question is this. If he's painting stripes that are 20 inches wide on a wall that is 15 feet long, how many of those stripes will he be able to fit on this wall? So for this one, we're going to do 15 feet, the length of the wall divided by 20 inches. That is to say, the width of each of those stripes. Well, as you can see, right now we're doing feet divided by inches, so we cannot proceed. We're either going to have to convert feet to be in terms of inches or inches to be in terms of feet. As it happens, it's going to be easier to convert this 15 feet to be in terms of inches. Again, if it's helpful, you can make your little chart. Again, we're going from feet to inches, so we're going to be multiplying, and there are 12 inches in every foot, so we're going to be multiplying by 12. So let's convert this 15 feet to inches by multiplying it by 12. 5 times 2, of course, is 10. Bring down a 0, carry a 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Before we start multiplication with this 1, bring down a 0 placeholder. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. 0 plus 0 is 0. 3 plus 5 is 8. 1 plus nothing is 1. So this becomes 180 inches divided by 20 inches. This math's actually very easy to do. We can cross out these inches. We can cross out these pair of corresponding zeros. This becomes 18 over 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So in other words, Jimmy can fit 9 stripes across this wall, which is answer choice C in this case. All right, this second question says this. The post office charges 44 cents to mail something that weighs an ounce or less. The charge for each additional ounce of weight is 17 cents. At this rate, how much will it cost to mail a package that weighs 2 pounds and 3 ounces? So we want to figure out how much it's going to cost to mail a package that weighs 2 pounds and 3 ounces. One thing you should recognize right off the bat is that the post office charges to mail something based on weight in terms of just ounces. So the first thing we have to do here is convert this weight of 2 pounds and 3 ounces to just be in terms of ounces. So in other words, we want to take this 2 pounds and convert it to be in ounces. Of course, we're dealing with weight and mass, so you have to know that we're going to be working with ounces and pounds. Specifically, we're going to be converting these 2 pounds to ounces. So we're going to go from pounds to ounces. We're going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit. So we're going to be multiplying. We're going to be multiplying by 16 since there are 16 ounces in every pound. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. This becomes 16 times 2. 2 times 6 is 12. Drop down to 2, carry a 1. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So 2 pounds is the same thing as 32 ounces. And of course, we have these 3 ounces hanging out over here. So our package in terms of ounces weighs 32 plus 3 ounces, which is going to be 35 ounces. All right, so now that we've converted the weight of the package to just be in terms of ounces, we actually have to see how much it's going to cost to mail this package. Well, right here, we're told that it cost 44 cents to mail something that weighs an ounce or less. So let's break this down. We have 1 ounce of this package costing 44 cents to mail, which leaves us with 34 ounces of our remaining package, and it cost 17 cents for every additional ounce to mail. So by solving this, 1 times 44 cents plus 34 times 0.17, we'll know how much it's going to cost to mail this package in total. 1 times 0.44 is just 0.44. That said, we now have to do this math. We have 34 times 0.17. We're multiplying a whole number by a decimal. In order to proceed, we want to clear this decimal in 0.17 by shifting its decimal place 2 times to the right, such that this becomes 34 times 17. 7 times 4 is 28. Carry a 2. 7 times 3 is 21, 22, 23. Before we start multiplication with that 1, we bring in a 0 placeholder. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. Let's add these together. 8 plus 0 is 8. 4 plus 3 is 7. 2 plus 3 is 5. Bring our 2 decimals that we moved to the right here to the left. 1, 2. So this becomes 0.44 plus 578. And so as not to make a mistake here, I'm going to work this off to the side. We have 578 plus 0.44. If it's helpful, you can add a 0 placeholder there. 4 plus 8, that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Bring down a 2, carry a 1. 7 plus 4 is 11, plus 1 is 12. Bring down a 2, carry a 1. Drop down our decimal in place. 5 plus 1 is 6. So to mail this package that weighs 2 pounds and 3 ounces, it's going to cost C $6.22. All right, so number 3 says this: the average weight of a northern bluefin tuna is 1,800 pounds. The average weight of a great white shark is 2.5 tons. On average, how much more does a great white shark weigh in pounds than a northern bluefin tuna? All right, so at first glance, this one seems pretty easy. We're going to do the weight of the shark, which is 2.5 tons. And from that, we're going to subtract the weight of the tuna, which is 1,800 pounds, to find the difference in their weights. That said, you immediately run into a problem right here. We have the weight of the shark in tons and the weight of the tuna in pounds. Well, we want our answer, according to this problem, to be in terms of pounds. So the first thing we have to do is convert the weight of the shark to be in terms of pounds. And again, if you don't know that conversion, you can always do this. We're dealing with weight and mass here. And as far as weight and mass is concerned, we have ounces pounds, and tons. In this case, we're going from tons to pounds. So we're going to be multiplying by what? There are 2,000 pounds in every ton, so we're going to be multiplying by 2,000. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. We have 2,000 times 2.5, of course. To make this math a little bit easier, we want to clear this decimal by shifting it one time to the right, such that this problem becomes 2,000 times 25, albeit with one decimal to move back into the left at the end when we're all said and done. 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 2 is 10. Before we start multiplication with this 2, we have to bring in a 0 placeholder. 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 2 is 4. All right, let's add these together now. 0 plus 0 is 0, 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 4 plus 1 is 5. Bring in our one decimal. So this 2.5 tons is 5,000 pounds, and we're subtracting 1,800 pounds from that. And let's go ahead and do that. 0 minus 0 is 0, 0 minus 0 is 0, 8 minus 0 we can't do, we have to borrow. This becomes 4, this becomes 10, 10 minus 8 is 2, 4 minus 1 is 3. So the difference in weight of the great white shark and the tuna is B, 3,200 pounds. All right, so that is that one. All right, so number 4 says Michael bought 256 ounces of blueberries. If he divided them evenly between 8 different pies, then how many pounds of blueberries did Michael put into each pie? All right, so for this problem, the first thing we have to figure out is how many ounces of blueberries Michael put into each pie. So we're going to take our 256 ounces of blueberries that he started with, and we're going to divide that by the 8 pies that he's putting them into. If it's helpful, you can do this as long division like this. 256 divided by 8. We start by asking ourselves this: how many times does 8 go into 2? It doesn't. How many times does 8 go into 25 without going over? Of course, that's 3 times, given that 8 times 3 is 24. 25 minus 24 is 1. Bring down this 6. 8 times 2, of course, is 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. Because we hit that 0, we know we are done doing this long division. So Michael put 32 ounces of blueberries into each pie. Well, we want to know how many pounds of blueberries he put into each pie. So we're going to have to convert these ounces to pounds. Again, if it's helpful, you can write it out like this. We have ounces, pounds, and tons for our weight and mass units. In this case, we're going from ounces to pounds, or we're converting from ounces to pounds. So we're going to be dividing, and we're going to be dividing by 16 since there are 16 ounces in every pound. So this is just 32 divided by 16. 32 divided by 16 is just 2. So in other words, he put 2 pounds of blueberries in each pie, which is answer choice C. Number 5 says this: Andrew is throwing a party, so he bought 22 pints of soda. At the end of the party, there were 8 pints of soda left. How many cups of soda were drank during the party? All right, so we first have to figure out how many pints of soda people drank. We know Andrew started with 22 pints at the start of the party, and at the end, he had 8 pints left. So that means 22 minus 8 pints of soda were drank during the party. Let's work this out very quickly. 2 minus 8 we can't do, so this becomes 1, this becomes 12. 12 minus 8, that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's going to be 4. And 1 minus nothing is 1. So 14 pints of soda were drank during this party. Of course, the question asks us to figure out how many cups of soda were drank during this party. So we're going to have to convert pints to cups. All right, so since we're talking about capacity, it might be helpful to write out this little chart here. Again, we have ounces, cups, pints, and quarts. In this case, we're being asked to convert pints to cups. So we're going to be multiplying. And for this one, you have to know that there are 2 cups in every pint. So we're going to be multiplying by 2. So let's do 14 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. So if 14 pints of soda were drank during this party, that means B, 28 cups of soda were drank during this party. Number 6 says this: Ken and Katie are twins. Katie weighs 6 pounds, 9 ounces, and Ken weighs 8 pounds, 1 ounce. What is the difference in ounces between Ken and Katie's weight? All right, so again, we're told that Ken weighs 8 pounds and 1 ounce, and Katie weighs 6 pounds and 9 ounces. We want to know the difference in their weight in terms of ounces according to this problem. So there are a few approaches you can take. You can convert their weights from the get-go to be in terms of just ounces and then do the subtraction. And that's what I'm going to do right here. We have their weights in terms of pounds and ounces. We just want their weights to be in terms of ounces. So clearly, I'm going to have to take this 8 pounds and convert it to ounces. Then I'm going to have to take this 6 pounds and convert it to ounces. Again, we're dealing with weight and mass here. So if it's helpful, you can list it out like this. We have ounces, then pounds. In this case, we're converting pounds to ounces. So we're going to be multiplying, and you have to know that there are 16 ounces in every pound. So we're going to be multiplying by 16 to make these conversions. Let's start with this one. To convert 8 pounds to ounces, we're going to take 8 and we're going to multiply it by 16. 6 times 8, of course, is 48. So drop down an 8, carry a 4. 8 times 1 is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this becomes 128 ounces plus that 1 ounce that we have here minus, let's convert this 6 pounds to be in terms of ounces. We're going to take 6 and we're going to multiply it by 16, of course. 6 times 6 is 36. Carry a 3. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 3 is 9. All right, so this is 96 ounces. Of course, we have those 9 additional ounces that Katie weighs. All right, let's just add these together. This is 129 and 96 plus 9. If you can't do that in your head, you could always do it off to the side. We have 96 plus 9. 6 plus 9 is 15, so drop down a 5, carry a 1. 9 plus 1 is 10, so this is 105. All right, so 8 pounds and 1 ounce is 129 ounces. 6 pounds and 9 ounces is 105 ounces. Let's find the difference of their weights. 9 minus 5 is 4. 2 minus nothing is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. So the difference in their weights is 24 ounces, which is answer choice D in this case. All right, so number 7 says this: Marla bought 6 feet of ribbon to make bracelets. If she needs 18 inches of ribbon to make 1 bracelet, then how many bracelets can Marla make with the ribbon she just bought? All right, so to figure this one out, we're going to do our 6 feet. We're going to take our 6 feet of ribbon and we're going to divide that by our 18 inches that it takes Marla to make each bracelet. As we saw in a previous problem, we've hit a little bit of a roadblock right here because we can't do this division because we have 1 unit in terms of feet and another unit in terms of inches. In other words, we're either going to have to convert these feet to be in terms of inches or these inches to be in terms of feet in order to continue this division. I think it's going to be easier to convert feet to inches, so let's go ahead and do that. Again, we're dealing with linear units, so we know there are inches, feet, and miles. In this case, we want to convert feet to inches. So we're going to go from feet to inches. That is to say, we're going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit. So we're going to be multiplying. What are we going to multiply by? Well, we know there are 12 inches in every foot. So we're going to multiply by 12. So to convert this 6 feet to inches, we're simply going to take that 6 and we're going to multiply it by 12. 2 times 6 is 12. Bring down a 2, carry a 1. 1 times 6 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So this becomes 72 inches divided by 18 inches. Of course, we can cross out these units, and now we just have 72 divided by 18. Let's try to do this long division the smart way. If this was 20, 20 times 5 would be 100. So this is too big and this is too big. So the answer to this one is either going to be 4 or 3. So let's do 18 times 4 off to the side. Again, we're asking ourselves, how many times does 18 go into 72 without going over? Well, 8 times 4 is 32. Bring down a 2, carry a 3. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So 18 times 4 is 72. 72 minus 72 is 0. So in other words, make sure I can spell this correctly. Marla can make B 4 bracelets with the 6 feet of ribbon that she bought if each bracelet takes 18 inches of ribbon to make. All right, so number 8 says this: a fish tank has 240 quarts of water in it. If Justin adds another 120 quarts to the tank, then how many gallons of water are in the fish tank? All right, so we know we have a tank that has 240 plus 120 quarts of water in it. Let's quickly add this up. 0 plus 0 is 0. 2 plus 4 is 6. 2 plus 1 is 3. So we know our fish tank has 360 quarts of water in it. And we want to know how many gallons that is. So we're dealing with measures of capacity. If it's helpful, you can write those out from least to greatest. Again, we have ounces, cups, pints, quarts, and finally gallons. In this case, we're being asked to convert quarts to gallons. That is to say, we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, so we're going to be dividing. You have to know that there are 4 quarts in every gallon, so we're going to be dividing by 4. All right, so to convert this 360 quarts to gallons, we're going to do 360 divided by 4. And this one's actually pretty easy to do. You should know that 4 times 9 is 36. Therefore, 4 times 90 is going to be 360. 360 minus 360 is 0. So 360 quarts is the same thing as 90 gallons, which is answer choice D in this case. All right, so number 9 says this: Oswaldo is cooking a big dinner. If he bought 30 1/2 ounces of sweet potatoes, 13 1/4 ounces of asparagus, and 20 1/4 ounces of squash, then how many pounds of vegetables did he buy in total? All right, so let's first add up all the ounces of vegetables that he bought. So that's going to be 30 1/2 plus 13 1/4 plus 20 1/4. So adding mixed numbers can be pretty tedious. So here's the approach I'm going to take. I'm going to add up my whole numbers first. In other words, I'm going to do 30 plus 13 and 20 over here. And then I'm going to add up my fractions, notably 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 separately. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. 3 plus 0 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. Plus 2 is 6. Let's go ahead and add these fractions together. To add fractions, they all have to have the same denominators. In this case, we have a denominator of 2, 4, and 4. A common denominator between 2 and 4 is going to be 4. So in other words, all these fractions have to have a 4 in our denominator in order to continue. To write 2 as 4, we're going to multiply it by 2. We're also going to do that to its numerator. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. This already has a denominator of 4, so we'll bring it down as is. This one also has a 4 down there, so we'll just bring it down as is. This becomes 2 plus 1 over 4. 2 plus 1 is 4, so this is 4 over 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. All right, so 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 is simply 1. So this becomes 63 plus 1, or 64 ounces of vegetables. All right, so now we got to convert our 64 ounces of vegetables to be in terms of pounds. All right, so now we got to convert our 64 ounces of vegetables to be in terms of pounds. And for that, you have to know this. We have ounces and pounds. We're going from ounces to pounds, so we're going to be doing division. What are we going to divide by? Well, there are 16 ounces in every pound, so we're going to be dividing by 16. So this becomes, and let me move down a little bit. This becomes 64 divided by 16. How many times does 16 go into 64 without going over? Let's use our answer choices to figure that out. 16 times 2 would be 32. So this is too small. 32 plus 32 is 64. So I know that 16 times 4 is going to be 64. So let's just work that off to the side to confirm it. 6 times 4 is 24, carry a 2. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. So 16 times 4 is 64. 64 minus 64 is 0. In other words, 64 ounces is the same thing as 4 pounds. In other words, Oswaldo bought 4 pounds of vegetables for this dinner. That is answer choice C. All right, so number 10 says this. Chantel is training for a relay race. If she ran 15,840 feet every day for 10 days in preparation for her race, then how many miles did she run in total during training? All right, so we're told that she ran 15,840 feet every day for 10 days in preparation for her race. We want to know how many miles she actually ran during training. So the first thing you should do in this case is convert these feet to be in terms of miles. All right, so we want to convert our feet to be in terms of miles. Since we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, we're going to be dividing. What are we going to be dividing by? Well, you have to know that there are 5,280 feet in every mile. So to convert this 15,840 feet to miles, we're simply going to divide it by 5,280. All right. And again, this math at first glance looks pretty difficult. That said, you should be able to use some estimation to figure this one out. You should be able to say that 5,000 times 3 would be about 15,000. So I'm going to say 5,280 times 3 should get me very close, if not exactly, to 15,840. All right, so let's go ahead and work this out. 3 times 0 is 0. 8 times 3 is 24. Bring down a 4, carry a 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. And 5 times 3 is 15. So 5,280 times 3, as we can see, is exactly 15,840. 15,840 minus 15,840 is 0. So we know we're done. In other words, she ran 3 miles every day during training. How long did she train for? she trained for 10 days. So that's going to be 10 times 3 to figure out how much she ran in total. 10 times 3 is 30. So in preparation for this race, she ran B 30 miles. All right, so that is that one. That is it for this video. As always, I hope you found it helpful. And as usual, you're more than welcome to leave feedback in the comments section below. In my opinion, that is everything you need to know about conversions in order to pass the ASVAB and PiCAT. And in my experience, if you answered at least 7 of those 10 practice test questions correctly, then you should have no trouble on the actual ASVAB and PiCAT. If you want to help my channel out, of course, you can do one of two things. One, you can subscribe to it if you haven't done so already. And two, you're more than welcome to share links to my videos, including this video on social media, including on Facebook and Twitter. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and cut you loose.
Konnichiwa.